And the people shouted, Hosanna! You might be surprised to learn that Palm Sunday is one of my favorite days of the church year. I'd say it's top 3. Easter is my first favorite, which of course we'll get to celebrate a week from today. Ash Wednesday is my second favorite, the day that kicks off Lent. The day we remember our identity as dust creatures, whose lives are fleeting and who are part of a larger whole that extends far beyond ourselves. And third favorite, today, Palm Sunday. I invite you to think back to Ash Wednesday, this past Ash Wednesday, the start of our Lenten journey. Do you remember it? It was February 26th. I woke up early and offered ashes to go at the Wilmette Metro station. Maybe you remember seeing the pictures on social media. I marked the foreheads of dozens of commuters, reminding them that they are dust. And then in the evening, we gathered together for our Ash Wednesday service, marking the beginning of this season of preparation for Easter. Well, this season has certainly not gone the way we expected. When the staff and I began planning Holy Week, we had no idea that Holy Week via Zoom was what awaited us. When I marked the foreheads of those commuters, I had no idea that commuting to work would soon be out of the question for so many. And when we gathered in person at church for our Ash Wednesday service, I had no idea that we would not be able to do so for Palm Sunday or Easter. There is loss in that. There is sadness in not being able to be together in person for this, the holiest and most important week of the church year. And yet here we are, still gathering, still expressing our love, and still finding joy in the ways available to us. The church has been scrappy from the beginning, resourceful, determined, and creative. Think about that march on Jerusalem that we celebrate today. The followers of Jesus, the poor, the outcast, did not have much, but they had the cloaks on their backs, their livestock, and the branches of the trees around them. This was plenty to make a statement, plenty of material to make a spectacle, to stand up to Rome. In fact, those modest resources were a statement unto themselves. When Pilate entered the city from the west, riding a war horse and leading a column of imperial cavalry and soldiers, Jesus entered from the east, riding a simple donkey, leading a group of peasants with nothing more than cloaks and branches. These peasants ignored the social system that told them to worship wealth and military power. Instead, they turned to people and to trees, finding extraordinary power in dust creatures and the dust of nature. It is tempting to think of Jesus' march on Jerusalem as some sort of parade permitted by polite society, but this was not the case. In the words of my colleague Elle Dowd, the first Palm Sunday was a protest march against empire, an act of radical resistance against unjust authority. The common people were being smashed by the control tactics of Rome, and Jesus inspired them to push back, to rise up from the dust and declare allegiance to a different kingdom, a kingdom built not on greed or violence, but on generosity and mutuality. Jesus' followers rose up on Palm Sunday 2,000 years ago, and they sang songs that were simultaneously freedom songs and songs of praise. Hosanna to the Son of David. Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the highest heaven. The people marching on Jerusalem that day sang this song from their scriptures, the freedom fight song of Psalm 118, which Laurel read for us this morning. Palm Sunday is one of my favorite holidays because it tells the story of an oppressed people rising up and fighting for their freedom, rising up and standing in opposition to Pilate and the rule of Rome. rising up in joy, singing shouts of praise and timeless freedom songs. We as Christians join in this legacy, the legacy of dust creatures throughout time, rising up and proclaiming freedom, overturning the systems that have led to disaster and creating a different world. On this unusual Palm Sunday, we can still join in this legacy. We may not be able to march in the streets, but we can rise up on social media. We can call our legislators. We can support causes that bring about positive change in the broken systems that have augmented our current disaster. We can proclaim justice and sing the freedom songs that echo throughout history. People of God, all you dust creatures, let's rise up. Let's get creative and use the resources that we have. Let us sing of freedom and joy.